Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Honor. It's a real privilege to be with you all today and to be talking about Twitter, which is kind of my new favorite thing, if you will, kind of a la Oprah Winfrey. She has her favorite things. I have to say that probably my favorite thing right now is Twitter and how to use it as a principle, not just for your own professional growth and opportunities for learning, but also how to empower your staff to use it. So who am I? My name is Peter Carpenter. I'm the principal of Emerton Elementary School. This is my 4th year at Emerton. I'm located in Harford County, Maryland, which is in the upper northeastern corner of the state, which is, it borders the Chesapeake Bay. I'm about 20 minutes northeast of Baltimore. And this is just some background information, just so you know where Twitter comes from. And a question that I often get asked is this: isn't Twitter just Facebook? Isn't it the same thing? And really it's not. Facebook and Twitter were both designed for very different reasons, but they also have some similarities. Facebook, of course, was designed by Zuckerberg, and he was trying to get people to connect across college campuses. That's where it started. And so it was one of the first social media sites that kind of became public. Twitter was actually founded in 2006 by Jack Dorsey, and originally it was designed for people in his organization to be able to connect with one another on projects that they were completing. So at any given time, it was kind of like an ongoing progress check of where are you in this particular project that you're trying to complete, and at any given time people could look and see what it looked like. Because the Twitter was originally written in SMS format, which that means if you have a cell phone, the text messaging that you send to your friends and family is written in SMS format. Originally it had a 140-word limit, and actually that should say a 140-character limit, which means you couldn't go beyond 140 characters. That includes spaces and punctuation in what you were typing. That has stayed even with innovations in Twitter, and it's a pretty cool way to kind of say what you want to say succinctly and very briefly and get your message across. This has caused innovation, of course, for folks to create abbreviations in Twitter. So sometimes when you're reading educational tweets that are on Twitter, you'll see the phrase or the letter T, the letter T followed by a lowercase s, which stands for teachers, and then a capital S followed by a lowercase s, which stands for students. So even with 140 limits, we've gotten innovative in how we use Twitter. The @ sign that you'll see in Twitter is a hallmark, and that is the handle, which is the person's name. And if you go back to, if you recall my first slide, it had my handle, my Twitter handle there, @DRPCarpenter. That is used to identify who you are on Twitter, so you can figure that out very quickly, the @ sign. And then the hashtag helps unite various like-minded thoughts in one large space. The hashtag is kind of something that is developed culturally within Twitter, that it's designed to pull like things together so that you can look at things in the same vein. So a great example that I use, and maybe it's not a great example, but it's a principal example, and for those of you who are principals out there, you'll appreciate this. So you have a very full day full of a lot of ups and downs on Twitter or in school, and you go home at night and you decide to tweet about your day, and you might say, "What a day!" exclamation point. "A roller coaster ride for sure!" exclamation point. Then what you might do is put a hashtag at the end of it that sums up how you feel about it, and you might say hashtag exhausted. And so that then creates a filter where people, anybody else in the Twitterverse who has hashtagged exhausted, it will pull all those tweets together in one spot so you can read them all at once. Most people culturally use the hashtag now to talk about an emotion that they're feeling or to sum up their tweet in 1 or 2 words. And so it's become a kind of a cultural phenomenon. But the original design was to group like tweets together so that people can find common patterns across tweets. There are several modern-day applications to Twitter. It is social media, so a lot of schools and organizations use it to send out media blasts. I have just now, today actually, created a Twitter site for Emerton Elementary School. It's exciting, but it also creates a sense of worry because you can put whatever you want out on those social media sites. And professional judgment is really key and important when you're tweeting information. I'm going to choose to use Twitter, my Emerton Elementary School Twitter, to post upcoming events and information that's forthcoming, reflect on really good things by posting pictures of students and also of teachers and other things that are culturally going on in our school. So I plan on using it kind of as an advertising thing for our actual parent population. A newer application and an evolving application of Twitter is professional growth. You're going to see when we go into my Twitter feed, a lot of principals are on Twitter and they're participating in chats with one another and they're creating what are called PLNs, which are professional learning networks or personal learning networks. And it becomes a virtual network of people who can feed you professionally and personally, which is really exciting. It used to be that you would wait to go to a conference and you're all together with a bunch of people learning all together. Well, now, thanks to technology, we can do that virtually on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, on an hourly basis if you want. But that has created a bridge for us to really continuously professionally grow ourselves, which is really exciting. So before we jump into the actual Twitter account, like any good teacher, I want to make sure that you take a few minutes and get to know the vocabulary a little bit. So I wanted to share some phrases with you. So when you hear me say tweet and hashtag and handle and retweet and all those kinds of things, you know what I'm talking about. So a tweet is the actual message you send in Twitter. It's the 140-character thing that you post. When you post a tweet, anyone who's following you on Twitter can see and read what has been posted, which is really important because we want to make sure that you post things that are pertinent and safe, of course, and approved, so that you're not putting things out there that would make your school look bad. The hashtag I've already explained. It's the #, and it's a summary statement that links like messages together in Twitter. I'll show you how to access that in the actual Twitter site when we go on there in just a minute. The handle, the @, is your name in Twitter, and it could be formal or informal. So like I said, for me, when I signed up for my Twitter account a couple years ago, Peter Carpenter was taken, so I decided to make my handle @DRP Carpenter, which stands for Dr. P. Carpenter. But if you do a search in Twitter for Peter Carpenter, you're going to see a ton of people with that name, and so finding the right person is important. It's really important, too, I think, as a principal, for you to separate your personal Twitter account from your professional Twitter account. My personal Twitter account, I follow all of my professional gurus there, and I grow and learn in that particular account. But my Emerton Elementary School account is designed to be the face and the voice of Emerton Elementary School. So I'm not going to be following people through that account, but I'm going to be using it as a place where people can follow Emerton and learn about Emerton along the way. And then we also have a retweet, which is an RT, and that's when you take someone else's tweet and you repost it on your own timeline. And I'm going to show you the power of the retweet, excuse me, it's kind of hard to say, so that you can kind of get a feel for how you can use it. So what can you do in Twitter? Well, you can send messages, which are called tweets. You can send private messages through a mail link in Twitter. The mail link means that you go directly to a person and it doesn't show up on your Twitter feed. So it still follows the 140-character limit, and so you have to be brief with it, but it's only designed to be personal or private between you and the other person. You can post links to blogs, you can post information in other media. You can link your Twitter account to your Facebook account so that when you post something in Twitter, a tweet, it'll show up in your Facebook account on your wall in Facebook. So that kind of makes it a little bit more efficient. You can also post pictures in Twitter, and again, you want to be careful what you post. Make sure that you check your system's policy for internet use. If there are kids that should not have their pictures posted on any type of forum, you don't want to go posting their picture on Twitter. You also want to remember that when you do post things, you're posting under the name of your profession and who you are, and so you want to make sure that you're safe and that you post appropriate things in Twitter. But pictures are a great way to communicate what's going on in Twitter. You can collect ideas through retweets and through favorites, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. You can look at trending topics. You can see what's popular at a glance, and that's what the hashtag helps us do. A lot of times if you watch the shows like The Voice and American Idol, you'll see at the bottom it'll see trending, and that means that these are things that a lot of people are talking about and that they have a lot of hashtags about. The other thing that's trending right now are superintendents. A lot of big superintendents in big districts are using Twitter as a platform to blog and also to share what's going on about the good things in their district. So those are some other people you might want to follow. But there are also big names in our profession, which I'll show you who they are. And so if you want to open your own Twitter account at this time, you can. If you want to watch me for a few minutes and then kind of poke around on your own account, you can do that. So I wanted to share a couple of spots with you, and right now I'm going to open my Twitter account so you can see, and you're going to see on my own account that I've got tons of people that I follow, and they're not all educational people. You'll see some comedians and some other folks that I just think are funny. This is my personal Twitter account. This is not my school Twitter account. This is my feed, and you can see right here, these are names of people and organizations that I actually follow on Twitter. But as I scroll down my Twitter feed, you'll see I follow NCTM, which is the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and some other folks. Education Week is a wonderful resource to follow at a glance. Now, what you're going to see in a Twitter feed are a couple things. So this is the handle. You see the @EducationWeek. We already talked about that. You're also going to see right here, do you see where it says bit.ly and then the /? That is a link, and it's a hyperlink to the actual article. So if I click on that, it's going to take me to the EdWeek blog, which may, oh, it's not blocked. That's good. My site, my server blocks blogs, but that's really cool. So this is the actual site. So I can sit here and actually read about charter laws, if that's something that's fascinating to me, and take a few minutes to actually read it. So why don't we talk about people to follow on Twitter? If you want to look for someone in Twitter, one of the quickest ways to do it is up here where it says search. So if you go into the little magnifying glass, and I'm going to ask you to search, we're going to start with NAESP because that is our parent organization. And so you're going to go look for NAESP, and as you can see, once you type it in and you click on the icon, you can see that I am following NAESP right now. See how it's blue? And it looks like NAESP is following me, which is pretty cool. But at the same time, if you want to follow, all you need to do is click follow, and NAESP's tweets will start showing up in your personal feed, your Twitter feed. I wanted to show you a couple of other people you may want to follow as well. I showed you ASCD, which is the Association of Supervision and Curriculum Development. They're a wonderful resource to follow if you haven't followed them. A huge friend of NAESP and wonderful speaker. If you've never heard him at our conferences for NAESP, Todd Whitaker, he is a wonderful one to follow as well. I suggest Joe Mazza. He actually has been at our NAESP conference for the last couple of years. Last year, he facilitated the tweet-ups that were going on in Twitter for rookie tweeters, I should say. He is a real big into parent involvement and getting parents involved in the schoolhouse. Former elementary principal, now district level technology person. Great guy to follow. And then the last one that I would suggest following is Eric Sheninger. I referenced him before. He's the author of Digital Leadership. He's an outstanding digital principal leader, very forward-thinking. He leads a couple chats that happen through the hashtag. Great, great, great guy, and great one too. So I'm going to show you a couple of other things that you can do in Twitter. I think that's pretty helpful for you. I am, if you've taken the StrengthsFinder 2.0, I am an input person, which means that I like to collect ideas and I like to have things at my fingertips very fast so that I can refer to it very quickly. And so the power of the retweet is where that's at. Not only does a retweet, like I shared with you before, put the tweet that someone else has tweeted. That's a lot of tweets in one sentence. But it places the tweet that someone else has tweeted on your feed so that you can reference it very quickly if you'd like. So here's Eric Scheninger. I've already talked to you about him a little bit. And he's referencing an article about Chrome and Lego. I just read it today. It's really interesting. In response to the really popular game Minecraft, Chrome is set up a site where Lego and Chrome have come together where kids can build things in different environments with Legos, and it's really cool. So that's something I want to share with my staff. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to retweet that. When I retweet it, what's going to happen in my Twitter feed is you're going to see something that pops up here in the corner, watch, and it'll say, do you want to retweet this to my followers? I'm going to say, yes, I want to retweet that. And you see that down arrow, that says that I've retweeted it. And it is now in my Twitter feed for all the people who follow me to see. So if I click on me up here, you're going to see my Twitter feeds right there. And there is that piece by Eric about the Chrome and the Lego. So I can get back to that really quick without doing anything arduous. It's right there. I can go back to the link, and it's just a fantastic feature in Twitter. The other thing you can do in Twitter is to favorite something. And favoriting something does the exact same thing that retweets do. It places it back in your Twitter feed so that you can visit it again when you want to see it really quickly. So you will see that favoriting and retweeting help you get that information on your own feed so that you can see it pretty quickly. The hashtag. So you will see in people's tweets right here, let's look at this one from Edutopia. You're going to see that they've hashtagged a few things. So here you'll see they have a tweet. They have something that's here that is actually a link to a site or an article. And then you're going to see that they have hashtags, so digital and EdChat. If I click on that hashtag of EdChat, what it's going to do is it's going to filter everything that's out there that has to do with EdChat, all the tweets that are out there. So you can see very clearly and very quickly, these are all the tweets that people have tweeted that they want them to see on EdChat. So make sure that your profile looks really good and that it's cleaned up and gets people excited about wanting to know more about you and seeing what you're tweeting. I'm going to tweet something right now so that you can kind of see how it works. So I could do it one of two ways. I can go over here to the side and do a tweet in this section where it says compose a new tweet, or I can hit the little feather that says compose a new tweet. So I'm going to just compose one, having a blast, learning about, oops, my fingers are faster, about Twitter with new friends from NAESP. Now when you see when I type NAESP, it says, oh, do you want to reference this Twitter follower? Yes. And so it'll change it to the handle. And so now this tweet is going to show up on NAESP's feed because I've identified them as on here. And then I'm going to just do EdChat as my hashtag. And I'm going to tweet that. And then it's going to pop up. There it is. It's posted. If I were to go to NAESP, it's going to show up in theirs. but we're having server errors again. So, but you would see it there if you were to go to NAESP. The other thing about Twitter is the principal's use of Twitter. So for me, it's a morning newspaper. When I sit down with my eggs and turkey sausage in the morning and I'm sitting thinking about my day, I'm totally going through my Twitter feed and looking for information. I'm looking for information for a couple of reasons. The first one's to feed my own mind and to feed my own brain so that I can just continue to grow professionally. The other thing I do as a principal is I take tweets that I find and I send them to people. And for people, teachers who are not on Twitter, it's pretty simple to send them a tweet. And speaking of people who aren't on Twitter, one of the things that I've made it my mission to do is to get my teachers on Twitter. So in November, I had a Tuesday tweet up, and it was kind of an interesting thing. I had about 7 or 8 teachers show up, and I got them on Twitter, showed them how it works, showed them how they can find information, helped them find people they could follow. And now what they're doing is they're starting to build their professional networks and start to get information through their own personal Twitter sites. So it's really exciting that they're seeing it as a professional growth opportunity, which is exactly what we want. We want them to be in charge of their own learning, and Twitter is a wonderful, wonderful way for them to do that. And then I always read my Twitter before bed. A lot happens during the day. I always, before I go to sleep, spend about 10 minutes browsing and cruising through my Twitter feed, see what's going on there, and try and figure out ways that I can grow a little bit and share with teachers that I have, that I work with. And how am I going to enhance my own Twitter use? Well, I have today set up a school site, and will encourage parents to follow us on Twitter. We have a really big assembly scheduled with our parents on Monday. I'm going to unveil it there. I'm going to commit to making sure that information is posted there so that they can see it in real time. I'm trying to model for teachers what I'd like for them to do eventually, and that is to set up, instead of weekly newsletters, set up their own blogs and make their newsletter a weekly blog, and to send it out through parents to parents through Twitter, but also to create a class Twitter site so that they can update the daily happenings that are going on in classrooms. So teachers can then have a kid that tweets, maybe at the end of the lesson, what's something our class learned today? And so they'll get on Twitter and they'll set up something from Dr. Carpenter's class. Today in math, we learned how to do X, Y, and Z. And maybe they set up a link of a video of them showing a strategy on how they did it, which would be a really great way to memorialize the learning. Alan November talks a lot about leaving a legacy for learning through technology. Twitter is a great way to do that. And a final word, it goes without saying, but safety. If you start to use Twitter in your profession, it is a reflection of who you are and of your school. So you have to use really strong and sound professional judgment when posting, making sure you follow your district guidelines for posting pictures and information about students, and make sure that they have completed a disclosure form before posting pictures. If you're a small district or a one-district school and you don't have that, Scheninger in his book Digital Leadership has a great model for how you can send that home and get parents to sign it. Before I send anything out on the web, my secretary, she has a mind of steel, and she's memorized all the students that can and cannot be in digital media, and so we'll look at pictures and she'll say that's good to go, and then I'll upload it or send it out, or she'll say can't use that one because so-and-so can't be in a picture. So you're going to want to make sure that that's completed and taken care of. So